Tom Brady, El Paso, and a leather company starts making computers, all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is August 3rd, 2022. It is the 215th day of the year. We got 150 days left in 2022. It's your 31st Wednesday in your 32nd week and the 44th day of summer. And today is National Georgia Day. That's right, the Peach State gets its own day, the 13th colony and the 4th state to enter the Union. National Georgia Day recognizes the natural wonders and one of the best examples of Southern culture. Georgia's founder, James Oglethorpe, settled the colony's first capital, Savannah. Georgia went on to have 4 other capitals, finally settling on Atlanta. My first experience with Georgia was basic training in the Army. Fort Benning. It was horrible. I went through it in the summer, and the mosquitoes, and the gnats, and the heat, and the humidity. It was horrible, and I should have learned my lesson, but when they asked for volunteers to go to Ranger School, I did, like 2 years later. It was August. It was rough. Here's an interesting fact about Georgia. Georgia initially prohibited slavery in 1735. Of the 13 original colonies, she was the only one to do so. The prohibition lasted 15 years, leading up to the Revolution. Georgia leaned towards supporting the crown and was the single colony not to attend the First Continental Congress. These days, it's a hub for airlines, military bases, and international corporations, and a lot of movies are made in the Atlanta area. All right, let's see what else August 3rd has given us. 1795, Treaty of Greenville is signed, ending the Northwest Indian War in the Ohio country. 1825, the Treaty of Lewistown is signed by the Shawnee and Seneca people, exchanging land in Ohio for land west of the Mississippi River. 1914, World War I. Germany declares war against France, while Romania declares its neutrality. When I was working at Nike, I met a Romanian soldier. He's obviously out of the military, but his whole jaw and stuff was messed up. Someone shot like a grenade launcher or some form of grenade. He wasn't really clear on it, but it hit the door, a metal door he was standing on the other side of, and it blew it into him, knocked him unconscious for a couple days, shattered all his teeth. He's still alive, though. I mean, obviously, if the dude told me the story, right? 1940, World War II. Italian forces begin the invasion of British Somaliland, which, if it was anything like it is today, known as Somalia, the British might have been okay with that. Take it. It's all yours. 1972, the United States Senate ratifies the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty. 1977, Tandy Corporation announces the TRS-80, one of the world's first mass-produced personal computers. I had one. And I thought it was amazing. Now I look back at it and I'd probably throw it out a window. Didn't even have a hard drive. They actually used cassette tapes, and that was an extra thing you had to buy. So the Tandy Corporation is very interesting. They're no longer in business, but their beginnings to where they ended up is kind of strange. Let me explain. The Tandy Corporation started off as a family-owned leather goods company based out of Fort Worth, Texas. Tandy Leather was found around 1920 as a leather supply store. By the end of the 1950s, under the tutelage of the then CEO, Charles Tandy, the company expanded into the hobby market, making leather moccasins, coin purses, and things like that, once they started making like novelty and hobby things. And this led to really fast growth for the company. They were no longer just this little family-run business, they were actually a legit company. By the time the 1960s started, they wanted to kind of broaden the company's horizon. Charles Tandy acquired a number of craft retail companies, including Radio Shack in 1963. Even back then, in 1963, it was a nearly bankrupt electronics store, and we know they've never really turned much of a profit other than the early days of the computer sales. Radio Shack was never really a good company. It had a loyal following, but that following wasn't that big. Tandy held on to Radio Shack till 2000, from 1963 to 2000. So now Tandy Corporation started off as a leather company, and now they've moved into hobbies and electronics and just really kind of hobby stuff. Well, in the early days of the computers, like the early 1980s, their new CEO started to invest in the personal computer market. Now, in the mid 70s to the early 80s, computers were really kind of a hobby thing that a lot of people would put together themselves. So they'd go to hobby stores like Radio Shack or whatever, they'd buy the parts, and it was just a thing you tinkered with and you made your computer. Then in 1977, Tandy produces this TRS-80. Now, there were other computers out before the TSR-80, so I know all the computer history buffs out there are going to call me on that one. This is just really one of the first ones that was sold on a massive scale to the commercial public. In 1980, they released the TRS-80 color computer, which was amazing. They called it Coco. By 1981, computers were the most important part of Tandy's sales. They came a long way from making leather goods. Tandy had a couple missteps when it came to the personal computer. The main one was the company attempted to monopolize on software and accessory sales by keeping technical information a secret and not selling third-party products in Tandy-owned stores. They had one store that was doing this as a test market, but after a year or so, they just banned it company-wide. And then they did some market research, and the result was if they continued to do this, the competition will go another direction and they'll be left behind. Tandy bought other companies and tried to bring them into the fold, but not a lot of them really worked out. One of the big ones that did work out for them was they had the store Computer City. Now, they were selling everything there, and the reason they called it Computer City, they were trying to get away from the Radio Shack Tandy reputation. In 1986, it was recognized as the fastest growing retailer, only behind Sam's Club. But by 2000, they were in bad shape and Tandy became defunct in May of 2000. 2019, 23 people are killed and 23 injured in a shooting in El Paso, Texas. Now, that's a lot more important than what went on with the Tandy Corporation, but it's just I'm so sick of talking about these things. It's like I want to not include them in these videos anymore, but then I get a bunch of grief that I should, and I'm kind of trying to treat this as the news and not just exclude things because I don't like them. But yeah, it was another one. Movies released on August 3rd, 2007, The Born Ultimatum. I love this series. Even the one with Jeremy Renner. I think I mentioned that before on this channel. Jason Bourne continues to search for who he really is while assassins from around the world are still right behind him trying to kill him. Basically, he is a secret agent type guy that loses his memory and he's trying to figure it out while a bunch of people are trying to kill him because they're afraid some of the information he has, if it gets out, they'll be in trouble. So it turns into this whole big action thing. There's been like 4 of these movies. They've got books. It's an incredible series. If you ever get a chance, check it out. Born on August 3rd, 1977, Tom Brady, quarterback who won 6 Super Bowl championships and 4 Super Bowl MVP awards during his 2-decade tenure with the New England Patriots. He then went on to win his 7th Super Bowl MVP award with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2021. Over the course of his storied career, he set numerous NFL records, including most games won by a quarterback. Kind of, used to be Joe Montana was the greatest quarterback to ever play. That's kind of how most people thought. Tom Brady's blown him out of the water now. He was a 6th round draft pick. 6th rounders rarely make the team. If you know anything about the NFL draft, there's only 7 rounds. So he barely made it. In the last Super Bowl 2021, he became the oldest quarterback, I guess it was 2 years ago, he became the oldest quarterback to start a Super Bowl at 43 years old, 6 months and 5 days. Died on August 3rd. 2013, we lost John Palmer, American television broadcast and news anchor who was a longtime correspondent for NBC News. He got his master's degree at Columbia University after attending Northwestern University. He received the Merriman Smith Memorial Award for his excellence in presidential news coverage in 1980 for his report on the mismanagement of Operation Eagle Claw, which was a mission to rescue the American hostages being held in Iran. That was a fiasco. He has 3 daughters with his wife, Nancy. He replaced Chris Wallace on Today in 1982. Palmer died at the age of 77 on August 3, 2013 in Washington, D.C. from pulmonary fibrosis. In 2014, his book came out, posthumously obviously, Newscaster, a memoir by John Palmer. It was obviously written before his death. Nobody ghost wrote it for him or anything. Literally, that would be ghost writing it for someone if they were dead, right? Anyway, moving on. All right, everyone, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said in the last video, if you got time, there's some videos being suggested for you. YouTube's really paying attention to that stat, how many of those you click after video. It would be great if you had time to watch one. All right, everyone, have a great day. Be nice to each other.